especially the book of Psalms, is filled with prayers by suffering people, people who are going through darkness. But virtually all of them end on a note of hope. So almost all the prayers that you read in the Psalms by people who are in difficult times, they're going through suffering, by the end of the prayer, there's always some note in which the psalmist says, I see you here, or I know I will see your goodness in the land of the living, or I know you're with me, or something along those lines. But there's two psalms, and we're looking at one of them. There are two psalms in the Psalter, Psalm 39 and Psalm 88, that do not end on a note of hope at all. In fact, you'll notice the word darkness shows up 3 times in this psalm, including at the end. It's clearly the theme. And actually, even though in the English translation, the last line is, darkness is my closest friend, in Hebrew, the last word of the psalm is darkness. In other words, the very, very end, a more literal translation would be, and my only friend, my closest friend now, is darkness. And that's the end of the prayer. Now, what kind of prayer ends like that? What kind of prayer ends not in hope but in darkness? What is this prayer doing in the Bible? It's here, I think, to teach us a number of things. 4 things. This psalm is going to teach us that darkness can be something that lasts a long time for a believing Christian. A believing Christian can be in darkness for a good while. That's the first thing. Secondly, however, it will teach us there's no better place to learn about the grace of God than in dark times. And also, there's no better place, thirdly, to become a person of greatness than in dark times. And lastly, darkness can be relativized. Let's look at these 4 things. First of all, first thing we learn here is that darkness is something that, for a believing Christian, can last a good while. This man says in the very beginning, you are the God who saves me. So he's actually trusting God as Savior. He's trusting God as Savior, and he's praying. He says, every day, I'm praying to you, and I'm coming to you, and I'm calling to you, and I'm trusting you as Savior. Now, there's 2 kinds of darkness. Outer darkness has more to do with the circumstances of your life. We don't really know exactly what's happening to this man. We do know that he's losing all of his friends. We also know that he seems to be facing death. At least it's either imminent or possible, because those questions where he says, do the dead rise up and praise you? Is your righteousness known in the land of oblivion? He's clearly facing death. We're not sure exactly what the problems are, but actually I always find that in the book of Psalms, when I'm reading this a prayer by a person suffering and I don't quite know what the person's going through, it's easier to make it my own. It's easier for me to enter in and have it help me. So outwardly, the circumstances of his life are darkness, but inwardly he's experiencing darkness too. You see, if outwardly things are going very badly in your life, but inwardly you sense God's presence and love, you can make it. But that's not what's happening here. He feels abandoned. He feels God is angry with him and has rejected him. He feels that God is gone. So he's experiencing both outward darkness and inward darkness, and he's praying and he's trusting God as Savior. And by the end of the prayer, he's still in darkness. What is the teaching here then? And the teaching is that you can be a believing Christian. You can be trusting God for your salvation. You can be praying and doing what you think you should be doing, and yet it doesn't get any better for a long time. Now you might say, well, you warned me. This first point was a downer. And it is. On the other hand, it's a mercy too.